if you want to learn how to make money your best friend, instead of running from that issue, instead of running from those things, this at the end of the day, you have to make money in order to move forward. The only way that you can do better in life is to make yourself better, and money is just a big part of that, whether you want to accept it or not, and that's a big fear that we're going to crush today. We're going to crush that fear. I got my man with me right here, Adam Torres. He is going to teach you how to face that bully. We're going to teach you how to get your lunch money back from that bully and beat it every single time, baby. So Adam, as always, man, we're going to bring him behind the black curtain.
Do it.
We want to share where you started, where you're at today, and where you see yourself going. You ready, big man?
Oh, I'm in.
Let's do it. Let's do it. And just so you know, it's all in who you know. I thought I was going to have to wear a suit and tie, but as long as I told him I know Adam, I'm good to go, man. He said suit and tie is optional. So glad to have you on, big man.
Appreciate it. And really, I've been watching your show. I've been watching your channel for quite some time, and it's truly an honor. I'll tell you, everybody that follows Dave, his material, I can't speak enough about it. Talk about motivation. Talk about a motivator. You bring it every single episode, and I watch it. So I watch the next one you have coming. The one after that, it does not matter. No matter what, no matter how you bring it. So thank you.
Appreciate it, brother. I appreciate it. I just got to learn how to get out of my shell a little bit, and I'll be all right.
That, and you might need to lift a little bit of weights because you're feeling, you know.
Like I said, I tell everyone I take the air out of these at night. So,
do it.
So we're good. So, you know, one of the biggest, obviously I speak on fear barriers and how to crush those fear barriers. One of the biggest fear barriers is always going to be money. And it's such a stopper for people. And a lot of times they can't even identify it. I'm going to jump in with you because you have a brand new book that we're going to talk about that I'm excited to talk about because I just picked up Money Master the Game. So I'm interested, man, in what you got going. So, but before we do that, where did this all start? How did Adam get here, man? That's what you want to know.
Got it. So first of all, I just want you to know I'm no savant. I mean, and many people can do this. So in terms of building proper money habits and managing their lives, sometimes my story seems a little intimidating, but I just want you to know that anybody can lead and improve their relationship with money. So my story may be uncommon, I'll give it to you, but just before, I just want to preface with that, anybody can improve what they're doing with money.
And I love that you use the word habits, right? Because it goes back to either physical, financial, spiritual, relationships, whatever that is. What are your habits? Because your habits are going to determine your results, and your results never lie. So I love that you went there because it's what are those habits that you're doing or not doing?
Absolutely.
And that's what we want to dive into in the financial world, man.
Absolutely.
So that's why we got you here.
Absolutely.
Why we got him here, man. We're going to get as much out of him as we can.
Yeah, get it.
So born and raised, where were you born and raised?
So born and raised in Detroit, Michigan.
Oh,
so
wow.
I'm not from Beverly Hills.
Okay.
So I started in this industry and working for my first firm when I was 16. So I wasn't the guy in high school that played sports or did other things.
Okay.
I just happened to find my niche really on. I understood that money made sense to me from a young age. I just kind of understood how it worked. I understood what it took to accumulate it and make it and transition, many years later. So me working my way up, college, kept moving west. Now I'm in Beverly Hills and I help people with their money every single day. So it's been a big transition, but then again, I'm just telling you, I was not connected. I was not born into it. Nobody can say, in my opinion, they're self-made. I'm not going to say I'm self-made. I had a lot of people behind me that helped me.
So he was not in the Lucky Sperm Club. All right, understand that. He wasn't in the Lucky Sperm Club at the end of the day, right?
I get that on my Snapchat.
Love it. But I love that because it's the real, man. It's the real. And that's what, I always talk about. You can keep your theory. Keep the theory, man. I want the wisdom. I want the real life, real world stuff, right? Because there's where the results are going to come in. And that's what you bring to the table. And I love that because I know that you believe that struggle equals strength all day long.
Absolutely.
All day long. Without that struggle, you don't have that strength. Without that resistance, you don't have that strength. So growing up in Detroit, your winters were a little different than they are now, right?
Oh yeah, everybody back home. Sorry,
right?
Sorry. Follow me on Snap if you want to see some sunshine. Ask Adam Torres.
Adam's going. The struggle's real, baby. The struggle's real. So when did you get out of Detroit?
Many years.
Yeah.
So yeah, as soon as I graduated college, I pretty much moved west. Well, no, if we think about that time period, 2006-ish, that wasn't necessarily a great time for hiring and for people that wanted to work in finance.
That was rough.
Absolutely.
It was rough for a lot of businesses. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I started my sports nutrition store in 2008 in San Diego.
Oh wow, that was the year then. You hit it at the dead of the market. 2008 was the
I'm telling you,
crisis.
everyone in my inner circle thought I was crazy. But luckily enough, man, the blood, sweat, and tears, we tripled the numbers within a year and a half in that economy.
What?
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah.
Right here.
So it's all about, and we're going to get into that.
Mindset. That's amazing. That is my world.
But it's all about that. And I want to dive into that. So you get out of, where'd you go to college?
Michigan State, Spartans,
There you go.
Spartiano, my Spartans out there.
All right. So where do you think? Let's go back just a little bit because I'm curious. Where did the interest in money come from for you? Was it something because you wanted to change your lifestyle? Did you know it that early, or was the numbers just an interest to you? Were you a numbers kid?
I actually remember the exact moment that money made sense to me.
Really?
The exact.
All
moment.
right.
This is exact moment.
Really?
Nobody has this on tape.
This.
Nobody.
I love this.
So when I was a kid, I used to collect comic books.
Okay.
And I noticed that when my mom would take me to the store at Kmart, that was the big store in the Midwest, let's say that an action figure might have cost $4 or something like that. When I went to a trade show that sold comic books, I'd look at it and I'd say, they want for a Captain Kirk $50, $70, or $100. And I'm like, wait a minute, it's just a toy. A toy is a toy.
Yeah.
So that taught me what scarcity and demand meant right there.
Supply and demand, right, brother?
So what happens next is I got it right that moment. So then, for Christmas or any other thing, I asked for toys and I never opened them. I still have them to this day. And my parents thought I was crazy. They're like, why are you doing this? And I'm like, well, I can put these away.
Wow.
I may not make money, but my kids are their kids' kids. It's an investment. And they're like, what is this crazy 7-year-old I have?
Wow. That's very, very unique.
Yeah.
That's very unique.
I remember the moment.
So, and you still have them.
Oh yeah, they're all in packages. And get this though, I had great Christmases. What I would do is I'd take my presents, put them upstairs, hide them, and then I'd give candy to my friends, and I got to play with their toys, so it's still good.
Well, what's really unique about that story is if you would have said, okay, I saw the value, $5 versus $60, and you figured out a way to get those as a gift, but then flip them for a profit, that would have been unique in itself. But for you to have the forethought at that age to say, wait a minute, this is a long-term investment, not a flip.
Delayed gratification.
No, man, that's very, very impressive. Great, that is awesome stuff. Let's talk about that, man, because it's interesting when you have that. And let me know what you think about this. When you have that deep, true entrepreneurial DNA, that seems to be the biggest obstacle and the biggest struggle on a daily basis because our DNA wants everything yesterday. So that delayed gratification obviously goes hand in hand when you're talking finances. How do you work with people that don't naturally have that?
Well, the first thing is education.
Okay.
So a lot of the people that I work with are going to be online, and I provide them with online education through my program PTR.
Okay.
And what I do is I take people through a series of steps.
Okay.
So I'll give you an example. So I just wrote or was featured in an article for Forbes, and what I was talking to people about is, what's going to happen in terms of the cycle that you've done this year that's going to play itself out next year. So this isn't rocket science. So get this.
Right.
For many people watching, you may find yourself in this situation. I'm not saying anything negative about you. All I'm saying is that you can break the cycle.
Yeah.
So what happens is, during this time, we're being marketed to, we have these emotions that come to us, and we want to, overspend. Maybe we want to run up our credit cards, and we want to do something that we don't necessarily want to, just to get that delayed, that quick little feeling of good, of doing good.
Yes.
But bottom line is, if you're putting everything on credit cards and it's going to take you the entire next year to pay them off, how do you expect to ever really accumulate wealth? You're just not being responsible to your family. Sure, you might want to overspend on your child who's 4 years old and spend all this money. Those toys are going to be broken.
Yeah.
Those toys are gone. What's gonna really hurt is if you didn't put away this college fund.
Exactly, and not only that, even talk about, and I know you're going to jump all over this, is is creating a budget that is long term. So it's kind of like I tie it into when someone wants to get in shape, right? Never use that dirty 4-letter word diet. It's got to be lifestyle, and it has to be a lifestyle change that you can actually utilize and implement throughout your day for long term. The diet is just that short term, 2 months, and now you bounce back, and now you're 10 pounds heavier than you were when you first started. And the same thing with the finances. I remember seeing a little interview with Donald Trump Jr. and he was talking about, he goes, listen, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I wasn't, born into a family with great opportunity. Don't get me wrong. He says, but here's how we were brought up. And then he talks about how he does it with his daughters. And say his daughter has $30 for the month, right? In an allowance. Well, she went to the store and she wanted to get this doll and it's $26. And he says, just remember, you have 8 more days or two more weeks, right? With only $4.
Absolutely.
And then it made her think, and she said, you know what, I guess I don't need that doll.
Absolutely.
But that's what you're talking about. So if you want to expand on that, I love that, man.
Well, first thing, what I don't like is the word budget. So I think budgets are made to be broken. I think the way that we're kind of taught a budget is it's just like saying, a diet.
I love it.
If you don't transition from dieting to changing your lifestyle, then you're never really gonna achieve long-term lasting goals.
What do you use? What verbiage?
So what I say is instead of a budget, we're moving over to managing for cash flow.
Love it.
So we're saying how much money do we have coming in versus going out? And if you can change, if you can program your body, this doesn't happen overnight, but if you can program your body and your psyche to feel pleasure when you're building your investments and savings, and pain when you're seeing those dwindle or your savings dwindle, if you can flip that switch in your mind, then it's easy. You don't want to go make that big purchase. You're saying, how many more years can I get out of this car? Do I really need one? It's going to hurt if I buy it now. I don't want to buy it now. I probably can do another 2 years, which means I can add another $10,000 to my savings or investments, which means I'm going to get that good feeling here.
Love it. I love that, man. And make no mistake, no matter what you talk about in life, all 4 pillars, it all maps to your mindset. It all maps to that paradigm.
Absolutely.
And I love that. I love that thought process because what I just shared with you with the diet and then lifestyle, it's so true. Because just like if we're talking, and this is sales 101, right?
Yeah.
If we want to get in, if I want you to get into a transaction with me, instead of saying, Adam, I need you to review this contract and sign it. Adam, I'd like to talk to you about getting into this agreement together. Just the difference in the energy, right? So that's what he's talking about. It's the mindset is the nucleus, right? It's the epicenter, and everything builds or crumbles from there.
Absolutely.
Right?
And mindset, it really is. And whatever has to do, your finances, your goals. I still remember when I was growing up, Rob Report magazine. I don't get paid for Rob Report magazine, but I recommend them to everybody. So all Rob Report is it's a collection of things that are just gifts or like high-end cars or things like that, things that I would never see in Detroit ever in my entire life. And I remember looking at Richard Mille. Richard Mille, for anybody that's watching, is $500,000 watches. So it's not your everyday goal. It's not your everyday thing, right? It just isn't. Right. But in my mind, I'm so focused and thinking about, how can I just stay focused on these goals and what I'm doing to where, I don't own a Richard Mille watch and I don't actually have that craving anymore. But, I live across the street from the Richard Mille his store. There's only a couple of them out there. There's as many $500,000 watches across the street on Rodale Drive as I want to see. Right. So that's where the idea of mindset. So even though my goals may have changed, so I don't necessarily want that, what it took to see and to surround myself with that environment manifested from visualizing to reality.
I love that, and make no mistake, he is talking about environment. Your environment dictates who you become, and if you're not sure how accurate that statement is, if Adam and I grew up and were born and raised in England, I wouldn't sound like I'm from Jersey. He wouldn't sound like he's from Detroit. That's how it's a powerful environment is, and I love that you went there. What else did you do to help catapult that where you're at today? Did you surround yourself with mentors? Did you surround yourself with people that have been there? Because I'm a big fan of modeling, and I believe that is huge.
I'm a big fan of not wasting time or money. I'm the money guy. So I'm a money guy. Yep. I mean, in my lifetime, even before I started mentoring, I did this the other day. Somebody asked me, Adam, you do a lot of mentoring, you do a lot of different things. Like, do you believe in it? And I'm like, I added up how much I've spent through the years, spent easily over $100,000 on mentoring. And what has that allowed me to do? Not lose money.
Exactly.
It's allowed me to duplicate systems. You don't have to, there's no shortage of money. There's no shortage of ways to make money. There's no shortage of anything. But there is a shortage of is time.
Yes.
That's it. So if you want to save time, if you want to not lose money, I mean, you can still lose money, but not as much as you would have going at it alone typically.
Exactly.
Then what do? You surround yourself with the right mentor, and you got to make sure you click. You got to make sure you click, and that's synergy, why there's no shortage of mentors, but there's also no shortage of people that need mentors and can link up with them.
And and 100%, and I love that you talked about it has to have the synergy first.
Absolutely.
Then you can build from there, because if not, it's like a business partner or even an intimate partner. You have to have that synergy.
It's a relationship.
Where's your foundation? And also, when we do tie in that mindset, again, another thing that I love to share is if you don't learn how to change your mindset towards money, if you don't have that abundance mindset, you're going to be in the same category as the people that won the lottery and in 2 years they're broke, or the pro athletes that get that big contract and they're broke. Mike Tyson, over $200 million in how many years, and is bankrupt, right?
Well, and this is my story, so people don't always believe me, but since I've worked with high net worth and ultra high net worth people for essentially since I started in this industry, I got lucky on some things. I had some breaks early on, but I've worked with 500,000 people that make $1 million a year, and they live paycheck to paycheck. So when I talk about stop living paycheck to paycheck, when I use that verbiage, some people think, oh, that's not me. But if you're 50 years old and you don't have any savings, and you're thinking about retirement, those next 20 years kind of go like that. Just like they went the last 30 years. That's still paycheck to paycheck.
Love it. I love that. And we talk about time, how quick, right? And again,
done.
Where did 2016 go? It's over. It's in the books.
Are we still in that year?
It's in the books.
I'm checking your phone. I didn't know
it's actually in the books, right? So he's so right about that. And just because you see people live a certain way does not mean they're financially secure. Absolutely. Or even more important, financially free.
Oh yeah.
So talk about that. Give us your definition of financial freedom.
So financial freedom, first of all, I don't like pairing the two words. Sorry, I'm picky on the words.
That's why you're here. But we're gonna learn.
It's a little bit, in my opinion, cliche, but I mean almost like the thing of diet. When you use the words financial freedom, the first thing that comes to people's mind is I can't do that. That's the first thing. Why? Because they've never had it in the past.
And it seems so unattainable.
Exactly.
Okay. Exactly. So how do we change that paradigm shift?
I like to think of it as, I take the word finance out of the picture, and I just say my relationship with money.
Okay.
That's it.
Beautiful.
Think of it like a relationship. So just like a marriage or your boyfriend and girlfriend or something, you're going to have good times, you're going to have bad times, you're going to learn each other, you're going to ideally have a long-term relationship that you're going to build and grow with, but you got to nurture it, you got to cultivate it, you got to learn each other's, if we were talking about relationships, you got to learn each other's love language.
Yes.
You got to learn the love language for money.
Yeah, I love that, man. Love that, brother. Love it, man. So again, that's why we brought him on, because he's been there, he's done it, and he's worked with so many different people. And I love that you talked about and you used the $100 or the $1 million a year person, right? Because so many people, like you're saying, just don't think that. Yeah. And just because you see them live a certain way does not mean that they're secure if that money stops.
Oh, absolutely.
If that money stops today.
And so what was the theme here? Cash flow.
Yes. Okay, so expand on that a little more.
How much money you have coming in versus what's going out, and how it relates to your day-to-day life. Okay. So just for example, if you are living, you go to work, you get your paycheck, the first thing you think is, if that paycheck's gone, what does my life look like?
Right.
That's the very basis, is say, you know, what if I can't work tomorrow? What does my life look like?
Okay.
You know, so you start there, and I like to say, you know, you obviously plan for the worst, but in doing that, you're saying, okay, I need to start thinking about my investing side. And by the way, so I happen to work in the market, but I'm not even talking about just the market. I'm not biased.
Right.
I mean, whatever you're investing in, whether it's yourself to get your skills up so that you can earn more money, whether it is, you know, real estate, whether it's the market, whether it's your own business, whether it's whatever you want to do. So I'm actually not biased, even though I come from a finance background.
Okay.
For most people, investing in the market really doesn't come until you actually, you know, have saved or obtained some money and then been successful in something. And, you know, your basic 401k, do that at work. I would definitely say do that, because a lot of entrepreneurs out here, but I know you're swinging for the fences, you want to hit that home run, but I'm just saying, if you don't hit that compound interest and those long-term investments and that tax saving or potential tax saving, you know, you still want those to be building little by little. So when I talk about cash flow, I mean, you have to diversify across multiple things.
Right, and let's talk about the compound interest, because that's the punchline that so many people miss.
Yeah.
That's how. Talk about that. Expand on that a little bit.
It's funny. So in writing my book, so I was on a speaking tour in China recently, and I was speaking to one of the top 10 firms in China, a huge firm. So I'm going to 3-4 cities, and I'm talking to their executives, and I'm kind of laying out how they should do financial planning, and you know what the next stage of their market's going to look like. And in doing that, my whole focus really changed at that moment. And the reason is because I was writing, the first book I was writing was really technical, financial, right? But then when I go over there, I'm like, wait a minute, they're actually not teaching some of the very basics things to a population of, you know, hundreds of millions of people. And then I think about coming back home, and I think about the people that I'd like to also help, and I'm like, you know, like, no offense, but not everybody has the amount of money that would need to invest for me.
Of course.
So I changed my whole focus to write something that was more palatable and that teaches basic things. The reason I give you that backstory is I have a whole chapter in my book on just compound interest and how it can change your life.
Right? And that's so overlooked. And I think more so, when you tell me if you agree, misunderstood. Right? So you want to expand a little bit on that?
Absolutely. So just think about it this way: if an investment that you have pays you $1, let's say it pays you $1, if you reinvest that $1 into the same investment, let's assume that you're getting paid some type of dividend. Just think of it as a small paycheck for owning the investment. If you keep reinvesting that over and over and not touching each other, what happens is it compounds. It means it grows bigger, potentially faster than it would have if you didn't reinvest. If you take that small little paycheck, if you go out and spend it, guess what happens? You still have that $1 investment. If you keep on reinvesting it, that $1 can turn into many, many, many dollars. And then it gets really interesting is if you program yourself with proper money habits, and if you increase that relationship with money, then what happens is you see that $1 growing, and you say, you know what? What happens if I put in another $1? And then it starts getting really interesting. And that's how you take yourself from being, you know, where you're at now to, I don't care how much you have saved, I don't care what plan you're on. If you're looking at longer term plans 10, 20, 30 years down the line, that's how you accumulate what's known as wealth. Not just money, but wealth.
Love that. I love that. And let's talk about some other things that the everyday person can protect themselves from, or at least educate themselves on, and that's the fees. Right? Let's talk about the fees when it comes to investing in the market, and what people can do and look out for if they think they're getting a good deal or not. You don't have to go into all the specifics, but fees are. Fees. If you're talking about compound interest, fees are very important.
I don't think we're even at that point as a society.
Okay.
If we look at it, so first of all, I charge fees for investing, so you could consider me biased. That's fine. I don't mind, but I want you to hear my argument.
Sure.
And I want you to hear the background behind it.
Okay.
So everybody focuses on fees. A lot of people that aren't even in the market are focused on fees.
Okay.
So there's a lot around media. Why? Because it's a good story, right? So
Right.
you have,
It gets
you have these guys in suits, right? They're charging fees, they're getting rich, right? So, fees a big deal, right? But if you look at the amount of savings that a 50-year-old has, less than 50,000 in this country at this point, the average as a whole, about 50,000 if we look, and if we look at the patterns of savings and investing, I can tell you in my career, I've worked with over 3,000 families. I've worked with over 1,000 business owners. Whether you paid a little more on fees or lost a little on fees, whatever. You went with somebody cheap, you went with somebody expensive.
Right.
That fee has not kept one person from retiring successfully in all of my experience.
Everything you see.
If you put it on a spreadsheet, yep, makes plenty of sense, right? It makes plenty of sense. Yeah, if you take out, if you save a little bit more here, then it'll compound faster.
The real world.
That's a spreadsheet. The real world is this. In 2008, if you weren't working with somebody, regardless of how much they cost, when the whole market was down 37%, if you couldn't pick up the phone and know that person was competent, and if they couldn't talk you, so to speak, off the ledge and let you know that you're still in your game plan, if you were just working with a budget shop or somebody else, and if you were calling an 800 number and you're saying, I don't pay much in fees, you were probably one of the people liquidating your portfolios. And you were probably one of the people that are not good, that had to work a little bit longer or didn't necessarily recoup. So I agree with you completely. Fees matter, but what matters more is the habit, the lifestyle, and having the correct coach.
Okay, gotcha.
So you're working with the right people. I'm not cheap. I'm not a budget person. I don't discount my fees.
Right.
And the reason I don't is because of the value that I provide. So it's just like having the right mentor or the right coach. The fact that I pick up the phone and that they get all of my experience behind that, it's invaluable. 10 basis points less, 10 basis points more, and a basis point is 0.01%. Think of it like that, 0.001. So it's very small amounts. You put it on a spreadsheet though, looks big. It's like, whoa, are you saving? Are they on you? Are they making sure you're hitting your goals? That's what matters.
It's the results.
Absolutely.
The results don't lie. And that's at the end of the day, and the results are tied in with the greatest equalizer that we know, and that's time.
Absolutely.
Time always tells the truth, and results don't lie. So I wanted you to touch on that in case people weren't clear. And I love some of the examples you gave. So how much has this industry affected your life and the people around you because of what you know? In other words, you always have people coming at you saying, hey, what should I do? How do I do this? And I know that you work with high-end people. So do you have anything in place that you can refer them to people that they might not fit your level?
Well, I've actually been changing my whole mindset on that, and that going back to that transition.
You restructured some things. You step back and you say, you know what? Wait a minute. And I'm going to go here a second. I believe that the definition of success is living life on your terms, and I believe the definition of happiness is fulfillment. So I think what you're talking about here, and tell me if I'm wrong, that you're looking for some more fulfillment in your professional world. Would that be accurate? Because you're seeing that there might have been a little bit of a void for the everyday people that might not be able to afford your services, but how do you give more value?
Well, this is the thing. So I was thinking more along the line. I agree with you completely.
Okay.
And this is what I looked at. So I know where I'm from. So I didn't come from money. And I know that I had amazing mentors along the way that helped me. They taught me. They gave me their time. And I just saw as I got more and more successful, I'm like, I'm affecting actually less lives. And so when I'm thinking about that, the general term in my business is basically, you start out and you have smaller clients because you're not known. And then you get bigger clients, and then the smaller clients kind of fall away, so to speak. And then you get bigger ones, and then you have even less clients, but you make more money. So all these steps, you make more money. So as I kept rising in ranks, this was the thought process. I'm like, do I want to help affect more people and give back or less? Like, what do I want my legacy to be? So I started a firm, and I'm like, so I went from helping hundreds of people to I started a firm. It's still in the wealth management space. So Century City Wealth Management. And there, I'll still be able to help families individually. But then I also started the idea of online coaching, because it's not, am I going to affect one person or 100 families? It's how do I affect 1 million people to affect real change? And also just to give back. I'm so fortunate.
Right.
So fortunate. So my form of giving back and making sure I don't just die with this stuff in my head is giving it away.
I love that. And it ties into the entrepreneurial mindset and the paradigm, because we are living in the most unprecedented times because of the internet, because of these platforms that we never had available before. And it's only getting better. I mean, we're live streaming from your office.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, 5 years ago, what we would have had to pay in fees for live stream to do this show.
Absolutely.
Right? And we're doing it for free.
And to get the content.
Yes.
So think
Isn't
about it.
Amazing.
For an average client paying me $10,000, $20,000 a year in fees that I'm actually managing their investments.
Of course.
But for these exact same conversations that your audience gets for free, it's tens of thousands of dollars.
Of course, yeah.
Tens of thousands of dollars to get that same information. And is it worth it? Absolutely. But you get it for free.
Exactly.
So I love it.
Yeah, right. And then it feeds you, right?
Absolutely.
Your fulfillment, because now you can go, instead of 10, 20, 30, 50 people, like you said, hundreds of thousands and eventually millions of people that you're going to be able to give back. And you know, again, this isn't rocket science either, but there's certain laws in the universe that we have to, that if we abide by, we win. If we don't, we lose. And when you give, you receive. It might not come back in the same way, but it's when you give, you receive. And
Absolutely.
That's the real.
For sure.
And the more you give, the more you receive.
If
you're giving it with the pure intention. It's all about pure intention.
Every time.
Right?
Every single time. The more I've given, the more I get back.
You should go on a little deeper about that, because you are a guy that's been very successful, and a lot of times people overlook that, how important that is in the toolbox. How important was that over the years for you?
I'll give you a current example.
Beautiful.
So I work, so I obviously have quite a busy schedule, but I also serve on the board at the Century City Chamber of Commerce over here.
Okay.
So if you think about Century City, it's a 9 mega block radius. Many people haven't heard of it. Think of, everybody knows what Hollywood is. So Hollywood, you know where the stars are at. Well, the money behind Hollywood is in Century City.
Gotcha.
90067 is I believe the 7th wealthiest zip code in the nation.
Okay.
So in working on this board and, you know, volunteering my time, I'm looking at, you know, how can I help promote other people? So I'm not thinking about, you know, what's in it for me? Am I going to get a client for my firm, or am I going to sell books or whatever? You know, the normal thought process. All I'm thinking is, you know, how can I be involved and be of more service? So I joined their arts council, and we just had a huge public exhibition in Century City. We brought over 10 sculptures. I mean, huge. I'm talking about some of them, you know, a story high. Like that big in terms of scale. And what was that for? It was the public good, public space. Don't make anything on it. It takes a ton of time, but really I'm looking at, you know, I live and breathe and work in this area. How do I make it better? And what's come back to me is that when I started my own firm, as I started this book, I mean, I've had all these amazing write-ups and things and media attention and been in all kinds of papers. And what does it come from? It really just comes from, I live my life trying to give more. And really, I mean, think about it. The last, let's say 30 days, based off of just friends and other things. I've been in Forbes, Investor Business Daily, TheStreet.com, US and News Today. I mean, all these different things. Why? Just because I'm giving back. That's it. I paid $0 for any of that exposure. People were like, "Oh, Adam, who's doing your PR?" Helping people, giving my knowledge for free. Yeah.
That's how powerful it is. And I love that, because again, it's so overlooked. But when you talk to the most successful financial people, they get it, they understand it, and it's just part of their
lifestyle,
in their toolkit, right? Let's talk about the book.
Yeah.
So what's going on? Where are we at with it? And when can we see it?
So you can get it right now on my site. So askadamtorres.com. And it should be ready literally in the next week or so. Just got the title? Money Matters. So it's
awesome.
And what I go through is 21 lessons for everyday success. So they're practical lessons for everyday success. So it's actionable.
Okay.
So most things are kind of, in my opinion, in the space are written in, I don't want to say dreamland to discredit anybody, but what I was looking at it for is, you know, my mother. If my mom picks up this book is she going to get something from it? And she absolutely will. So I'll give you just one example from the book. Great. I think you'll like it.
Let's get this golden nugget,
absolutely.
Baby.
And this is also in the free chapter. So you can go to the site. Anybody can go on the site and they can download that chapter for free.
Okay.
And so what I do is I talk about living your life with a script. So what does that sound like? So picture this, Dave. So you're in front of the camera all the time. So picture this, Dave. I'm going to tell it to you. You're the director. You're a big time director in Hollywood, and you have all these actors. There's thousands of people, thousands of moving parts. There's lights everywhere. There's things going off in front of you. They look towards you for direction. They tell you, okay, so then you finally yell. You yell action. Everybody's moving. You go for your script, and your tool bag is empty. You got nothing there. That's how most people live their financial lives. They don't have a plan. So what do? They just wing it,
Yeah. They just, like you said, they just wing it.
What's the plan?
And then if something really happens, now they're just crushed. Now what happens? Now we're just crushed. And like you said, it's an obligation to you and your family to create that stability, to create that financial stability.
Absolutely.
Marion, anybody jump on? I see we got some people jumping on with comments and questions. Big Adam's bringing the heat.
Yeah.
Woo.
Tom Bodyguard, he goes, Adam, I love to hear your general opinion on rollover for business startups. Do you hold a positive or negative opinion in general?
Did you say on rollovers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so when you say rollover, can you define what you're talking about? Because that term can be used a couple different ways. I just want to make sure I'm giving you answering your question.
Okay.
On the second comment, because we thought he lost his first comment, was he put, do you generally have a positive or negative opinion on rollover for business startups?
Again, there might be
there's a couple.
There's a few few different definitions of rollover. So,
You just answered ROVS.
Got it. So correct me if I'm wrong. So I don't really. So you're talking about purchasing and selling businesses, correct?
Startup biz financing is what he just now put.
Got it. And what's the kind of the size of the company that you would be trying to finance? I'm just curious.
He doesn't have that.
Oh, using your I got it. Now I know where you're going with it, Tom. I just needed some background on that. So there's a lot of complicated tax benefits to that. So, or I should say, benefits and downfalls when you're trying to unroll that potentially later in life. So you're basically tying up the IRA. I'm not against it. A lot of people do it. I don't think it has to be a bad thing. But if you're looking at diversifying yourself, that's what I'm preaching. I don't know where you're at in your life with this, but if we're thinking about diversifying it, I've seen many people use their IRAs to, let's say, even purchase, and this is hand in hand the advice, Tom, so you'll see where I'm going with it, but a lot of people use them maybe to purchase a property. Right? Now that could be very good for you. You might earn a very high return, or it could be very bad for you if the market crashes when you need the money.
And it's tied up.
So what I'm looking at is saying it depends on how your other investments are diversified. If you're tying up your entire savings in one business, that to me makes me think that you may not be in the right, you may not be ready to finance that business, and you may want to, bring in some partners or pitch somebody else. But if that's your only nest egg, then you're really rolling the dice. I know we all believe in ourselves. We want the best, but you're rolling the dice on if you're gonna potentially retire or not. So I've seen people cash out, I shouldn't say cash out. I've seen people use their IRAs, $1 million to put to invest in one investment. Doesn't go right because it's a real estate investment, and then maybe they weren't necessarily ready for that, and to put it all in that. And what happens?
And here's where your value is going to come in unbelievable. This is huge. This is going to be a huge golden nugget. So you just said, and we're so many people are in this mindset of these successful people, and I'm going to use his name because I know his backstory a little bit, Richard Branson.
Yeah.
Okay. And people are going to look at him from here saying, this guy jumps off the cliff and builds a plane on the way down, right? But what a lot of people don't realize is Virgin Airlines, when he was working that deal, part of that deal, from what I understand, I assume it's accurate, is if the deal didn't go through, then he was able to give those planes back. He was able to, like, he protected himself so deep, and that was part of the deal. So you work with some very, very, very successful people, and I think it's a misconception that these people, roll the dice on everything. They're so calculated, right? They have, they take the right risks, and I think that has to be a point made. It's not just jumping off that cliff and building a plane on the way down all the time, especially when you're talking about people at that level that people want to emulate, right? Or want to model. What do you think? What's your experience?
So I boiled it down really to a simple acronym, and this is in the book too.
Okay.
So this is the way I look at any investment decision. I mean, complexity can change, but if I'm looking at somebody's situation, and I teach this to them also, it's RTD, and it stands for risk, time, and diversification. So whenever I'm looking at, or I have somebody bring something to me, you have to take a look at it in the context of their situation. So it's not just saying, that real estate investment might be a great investment. They might make money, but it might not be the right investment for this particular person.
Right.
So in explaining RTD, whenever you're looking at an investment, you say, okay, number one, what's the risk? Like, what is this, a really risky investment? Is this, pretty safe investment? And don't just make that up. So seek guidance.
Exactly.
If you're saying, hey, I buy a house in Beverly Hills, it always goes up. I mean, that's general information. That's not a way to assess risk. All right. The next thing is time. So how long do you plan on holding this investment? So for example, in Tom's question, that may or may not be a longer term investment or play. I don't know. But what most people are not going to do is say, if I'm going to buy an investment property in my IRA, they should understand that's not something that they necessarily want to get into flipping unless they already have expertise in that business. So unless that's part of their business model. So how long do I want to hold the investment? And then the last thing is diversification. Using the same exact example, if you have $100,000 in your IRA, and that's all of your savings, and that's your nest egg for retirement, and you're going to put all that into one property and roll that property into it, your diversification is non-existent. So diversification, for those of you watching that don't understand the term, just think of it as spreading the risk or the investment over more than one investment. That's a really easy way to think of it.
Love that.
So RTD.
And it's in the book.
It's in the book.
So grab that book. Anybody else, Marion?
Craig Myers, he wrote, hi, Dave, Bro, and Adam. I know I will be financially free down the road.
There you go, awesome. Man. Make it happen. Make it happen, right?
Do it. Love it. Hey, and wait, getting back to it, that's the first thing. Mindset. You have to know it. You have to know it. Doesn't matter where you're at, you have to know it.
And that belief, right?
Absolutely.
And now it's surrounding yourself with the right people, the right information, and that's what we're bringing you today. So again, the times we live in, all the excuses are gone. You can just get on your phone and connect with the right people at any time, and a lot of times free of charge. So the excuses are crushed. Anybody else, Marion?
Tom followed up with, that under-diversifies me. I would be totally invested in myself.
Yeah, so this is the second part of it, though. Right. And let me give you another part of it, though, Tom. So, and not saying it could work out good. I'm not saying you're not going to make money, but a lot of times when you look at where you're at, and I don't know Tom, by the way, so I don't know his investment situation, but when you look at where you're at, what I tell people is if your business and if your investment idea is so good, there's no shortage of people out there that will invest in your business if it's good. If everybody's telling you no offense, but it might not be a good idea, or you might not be ready, or it might not be mature enough. No shortage of money to invest in out there. So I'll give you an example with what I'm doing in my business. In starting my businesses, I started completely bootstrapped myself. I left a big box firm. I won't say their name, but $4 trillion firm. You look me up on LinkedIn, you can see them. But I just don't want to say their name on video. But I'm on LinkedIn, you can see them. But anyway, I left a large book of business, large clientele, and I'm not gonna go grab all those clients or from that company. I start by myself, and I'm investing in myself, but I also have a proven track record in that business. I also have over 11 years experience in that business, and if we include training, other things of that nature, I'm 18 years in. You go back to 16, I'm 34.
Yeah.
So if you look at that, that means that but I still wouldn't. If I had to say, I got to roll the dice, put everything I've ever saved into it, if I needed to do that, I'd be looking for somebody to partner with.
Yeah.
I personally, not saying it makes sense for you, but I personally would be looking for somebody else to partner with.
Hey, you want to keep that cash flow, keep that bankroll.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because the cash flow is going to be key no matter what.
And it's huge, huge. Yes.
Got to be able to weather the storm. Next crash could be tomorrow. Not saying it's going to be, but if it is, are you going to be solvent? Because the ones that are solvent and are still, swimming, those are the ones that get that next trajectory when the market goes back up.
They eat the most.
Got to be able to survive.
They eat the most. And let's really drive home what you said initially when we jumped on. Find yourself that partner. Find yourself those partners, but make sure the synergy's there.
Got to be.
Right? Make sure the deal, make sure it's a win-win.
And you might fail. I've had business partners gone, and just a side note, you're not gonna get it right the first time.
Yeah.
Not gonna get it right, and that's okay, but fail quickly and fail with less of all of your own money.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you gotta have something left. If it all, whatever, you gotta have something left.
Yeah. No, you gotta.
The build-up's a lot worse if you don't.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And then the digging out's a lot worse as well.
Takes more years.
Right. Anybody else, Marion?
Shout outs from Kelly Fitzgerald.
Kelly, that's my publisher. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
My book just landed on Amazon about two and a half months ago. Knockout Fear in the first round. Kelly, couldn't have done it without you, girl. Thank you.
Awesome, Kelly. I see it everywhere, so I know you're doing a good job, Kelly. Some publishers, some publicists, Kelly must be doing it because I see that everywhere.
She's a worker.
That's
Actually,
awesome.
We got that thing from start to finish a month and a half. My goal was a month.
Woo! Way to miss your goal, Kelly.
I said, I said, and it was actually my fault. I said,
way to miss. No,
I know. I told her, I said, I'm a momentum guy. Can we get it done in a month? And she goes, what? So, so awesome. Thank you, Kelly, for jumping on. Anybody else, Marion?
Joseph Bronson.
Okay. Joseph, thanks for jumping on, pal.
Josephina Karpecki.
Okay. We got some names out here. We got you working, Marion.
Oh, I am a whole page.
What?
Joey Giggles, of course.
Joey from New York. What's up, my brother?
Awesome.
Do we have anybody with comments or questions?
No, Craig says I have a Facebook group for authors and bloggers.
Awesome, man. Would love to be a part of it. Just as you guys know, when we jump off, Adam's going to be able to jump back on, reconnect with you guys. He's going to post all of his information, where you can find him. If you can't find him, contact me. I know where he is.
Uh-oh. You know where I live. Uh-oh.
I can find him. Adam, is there anything that I didn't talk about and touch on, or anything that you want to share before we do jump off, man? 'Cause I know you got a lot of great golden nuggets.
Absolutely. So my main takeaway, if you're watching this, the main takeaway is that anyone can do this. Anyone can really achieve their goals. Anyone can, with the proper training and mindset, they can do it. Mm-hmm. I grew up in Southwest Detroit. Google it. Yeah. I mean, where I grew up, it wasn't pretty. So where I grew up in the 80s, you pick up the newspaper and you see, entire houses of people that were, murdered. Literally. This isn't an exaggeration. You can Google Detroit in the 80s and, the National Guard came in to basically change what was going on. So that's the environment that I grew up in. So it's not about where you came from. It's really about your focus, your mindset, your message. And as you craft that and as you go through life, I mean, really, anything's possible and anybody can do this. That's why I started this interview by saying, hey, you know, sometimes people get intimidated or they look at me like, oh, you know, this guy was born with it or he, you know, and what I'm saying is that no, anybody can do this. Anybody can change their relationship with money. And I would say you want to do it because it'll change all the other relationships in your life.
It does. And the bottom line with money, that's more people that you can help by helping yourself. And that's the real. And I think there's just too many people that run from that. And also, let's keep it real. A lot of people just don't want to put the work in. And that's the real. And unfortunately, life makes the rules. I don't make the rules. You don't make the rules.
Yeah.
Life says you got to earn it.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to earn it, you're not going to get it. If you don't earn it, you're not going to keep it.
Absolutely.
And that's the real. So guys, anybody else, Marion, before we jump off?
Craig says, Adam, run, laugh out loud.
There you go.
Awesome.
There you go, man.
Thank you, Craig.
Adam's feeling the love. He's feeling the love. So Adam, we always end the show the same way.
Do it.
And I
I'm in.
That's
do
it. See
Where we
that?
at? Where we at? Come
Coaching,
on.
baby. He's doing better than me. So for you guys that don't know why we do the Monster Motivator Roar, it's because I believe you could be only in one mindset at a time, right? So if you're in victim state, there's no room for gratitude.
Nope.
But if you're in gratitude, we got no room for victim. And if you could be in that unstoppable state the majority of your day, how good would that be? Right? And
Just picture that.
And what happens? Life always asks the questions, right? And life says, Adam, do you want to purr like a kitten or roar like a lion?
Absolutely.
What do you want to do?
Ooh, I'm going to knock that jungle down.
That a boy. On 3, we're going out. Monster Motivator Roar. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Ah!